It's one thing to just have, you know, a show or a book or a movie that's just your favorite. It's another thing to have something that really has impact and influence. And that is what I'm told that Facts of Life has done for so many people.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, Mrs. Garrett.
Well, Charlotte was really the reason the show was built around. Charlotte came out of a show that had a very big audience. It was a big hit, and she was a big talent. And it was a chance for her to sort of, quote, launch her own show. And initially, the show was called Garrett's Girls. And that was before Facts of Life. And it was built around her taking on this new job and coming into this world. And she was really a centerpiece for the adult experience in this show.
I have my poem right up here. I just have to put it down on paper.
Well, you can't put it down on paper until you put this on a chair up there.
I think that Charlotte is different in that she really is very much a businesswoman and an actor. She's not a house mom. That is not who she is. She really is a professional, talented woman with an incredible amount of experience and wisdom.
Working with Charlotte Rae it's almost indescribable, because you would assume that we would say, oh, she was so maternal and she was like a mom, but she wasn't, because she was so hip and so cool, you know, and she was never trying to tell us what to do. And even though there were very significant age differences, she didn't treat us like children. We were all actresses.
Well, the vertical's fixed. How's my horizontal?
It's blocking the set.
I guess that's not an insult. It's only a 19-inch screen.
The reason it was different than other television programs at that time had a lot to do with casting, because we went after real teenagers who were in their youth. They weren't playing young. The idea was to build this ensemble of gals that were very unique.
I'm checking out, Mrs. Garrett. I have an early date with Roger.
I can see you're really looking forward to it.
I am. I'm absolutely going out of my mind with excitement.
She was our first girl in. Felice was someone that we were very excited about.
I had a lot of input into creating the character of Nancy. At that time in my life, I was very boy crazy. You know, if you actually saw the schoolroom, I had the Teen Beat and Super Teen, whatever those magazines were, had the pictures of Peter Barton, Mikhail Baryshnikov, whoever was hot then. You know, I had them pictures up, and I always was talking about, I had a crush on this one, or I was crazy about that one. And so I think they saw that little boy craziness in me, and then developed this little part of my character where I'm on the phone with my boyfriend, Roger.
Felice Schachter is my soul sister. Felice and I became incredibly close very quickly. Very same sensibility. She just felt like family. I think Felice got a bum deal.
When I did the initial pilot spin-off, my character was a main character in the show, and then when I came back to do the series, it had been severely diminished, and I was very disappointed. And I went to Al Burton's office. I said, what happened? Where's my part? Where's my character? I thought, that I was a big part of the show. Well, we're working on it, and the writers need to develop a character, and there really wasn't much to my character other than being a sweet girl who was the star of the school play.
The script had not yet quite been written fully. It was just conceived. And so we were just filling it in. And so the girls actually, as we brought them in, began to develop their relationship to the script after the fact sometimes. We did have some material. We had scenes written, but they weren't specifically about anybody yet. We started with Felice, then we were looking for different kinds of gals.
Well, you don't see me getting all upset when people tell me how gorgeous I am.
Lisa came up with her character. Nobody really sort of directed her to be that. It was on the page, too. She was playing a snobby girl. So her interpretation of it was how she was affected.
I had been on enough auditions that they knew me, and so they were looking for a naive, fast-talking girl from Texas by the name of Blair Warner. And so they called me, and I came in to audition. But But there was one word in the script, one line in the script actually, that I read, and Julie Piekarski, who was also auditioning, was standing beside me, and I read it kind of condescendingly while looking at her posterior, and that changed the whole character. They loved that reading and that attitude so much that when I got the part and I showed up for the actual table reading, I had the part of Blair Warner, but she was no longer a naive, fast-talking girl from Texas. She was a very snobby, rich girl from New York.
I think the reason that Lisa played Blair so well is that she was just so unlike that when she would see Blair, I mean, she just let it rip. It's so the antithesis of who Lisa was, is, ever will be.
So beautiful on the outside and just such a spitfire on the inside. She is just one of the funniest people I've ever known in my life.
She was not afraid of physical comedy, and she wasn't afraid of looking unattractive in the name of physical comedy, which to me makes you a brilliant comedic actor.
Who is the smartest? Well, it couldn't be me. I've got too many other things going for me. You're right, Blair. It's not you either.
Kim was very young. Kim was smaller. She wasn't really even quite a teenager yet. But I was so impressed with her comedy timing. You know, we needed not only just adorable, pretty, good actresses, we needed funny actresses. And by far, she was one of our great little comedians.
Kim had more experience than any of the rest of us girls combined. I mean, she'd been working since she was a baby. And so you could tell she knew how to deliver a line, and she knew how to deliver it to get the biggest laugh.
Can I help it if I'm years ahead of my time?
They had me audition and come back, and they really liked what I did. But I was too small to play 12. And so the producer at the time, Al Burton, said, you know, we really want her, what can we do to make her taller? And they came up with the idea to put me on roller skates. And that is the story of why the first season I was on roller skates.
You and me have the same IQ score. I knew we were soul sisters.
Here were these two girls who grew up together, who had this insane friendship. No judgment about each other. A lot of love, a lot of respect. I mean, I really think it, at least for me, and I know from the fan letters that I got, it really taught girls how to be good girlfriends.
Mindy Cohn obviously was not a professional child. That's what we called them, professional children. She was not a professional child. She was a student at a private school.
The producers went to Westlake to help with the development and writing of the show. She caught Charlotte's eye. She was added on later. She wasn't originally part of the group, and Charlotte said, we've got to bring this girl in.
I went into the tandem offices, and I went into Alan Horn's office. That's where I met Eve Branstein, and I actually met Kim Fields for the first time. And Alan said, would you like to do this? My mom said it would be okay if I wanted to do it, and I thought, why not? What a cool experience. So I let Alan know that I had never acted before, literally. And Kim, at 10 years old, said, you know, I got your back, don't worry about it. I'll let you know what's up. And she literally took me under her wing and explained to me what upstage, downstage, stage left, stage right. I had no idea what this stuff was.
Mindy was a riot to me. I mean, she was just so funny, just naturally.
What was fun about Mindy, though, you'll notice in the first couple of seasons, is that she enjoyed the jokes so much that she would always say them and then have this little smile. And, you know, for years they would say, "Hun, you can't laugh at your own jokes."
And that's another note that kept coming down from Norman, was that, look, we know that she has big cheeks, but it looks like she's cracking herself up. So even when I wasn't cracking myself up, I guess it just looked like that. So that kind of became one of her trademarks, that actually here was a character on television who didn't take herself so seriously.
Natalie, let's see if we can get through to Harvey, my dead hamster. Oh, Harvey, wherever you are in that big hamster cage in the sky, if you hear me, say something. Just give me a sign. Come in, Harvey.
Molly came from a show business family, actually. Her father was a musician, and she had been in Annie in San Francisco.
Although the cast was quite wonderful, there was one little orphan off on the side, and that was Molly. And she had a slight lisp, and it was really adorable. And she was just a good contrast. Again, physically, personality-wise, she was more of a character than, let's say, Felice or even Lisa at that point. So I invited her to come to the audition, and she brought a lot of talent and personality and charm to this part.
Come on, you guys. Tug of war practice time. We gotta get on the ball before we get our brains knocked in.
Cindy Webster kind of came from a broken family. She was a little bit lost. She was raised by her mom, and she was a tomboy. She didn't quite fit in.
I always thought that Julianne was probably the prettiest girl in the whole set. I just loved that natural blonde hair and blue eyes and just the sweet little face. And so I thought it was ironic that they would choose her to kind of play a tomboy because she was anything but a tomboy.
She worked very hard acting-wise, and she had done this movie called The Great Santini, and I saw her in that, and even as a kid, I was still a child actor, and remembering that I liked her work in it, that I thought she worked hard, and she did really well in it.
I'm not running.
Julie Piekarski and Julianne Haddock were part of the sort of tradition of teen actresses that came through my life in those days. I had seen so many, and they always came back. I'd have them back for many callbacks. They were very gifted, they were funny, and I could see the future possibilities with them.
Julie Piekarski was very high energy. She was like a cheerleader for the show. She was always very bubbly, very positive, very up.
Julie has the most amazing sensibility and just great head on her shoulders.
You two ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You had no right to be eavesdropping or even to be there. But as long as you were, what else did they say?
Part of why the show was revamped the way that it was after at the end of the first season was because there were a number of characters for a half-hour comedy. You know, we were like the cast of West Wing for, you know, a 22-minute series. So I'm sure that played into part of the decision-making process that God love him, Brandon Tartikoff and the other executives at the network level and the studio level when they were retooling the show to give it a chance because they believed in it.
The fact that it was decided that the show would not have such a large cast was a surprise for all of us.
Everybody was shocked. Nobody knew, that I know of, that they were going to make this major cut and major retooling.
Of course, I wanted to stay on, but I don't think I felt quite that kind of pressure. I was just having a great time. And because I was a kid, too, I also missed my school, my friends. And so when it didn't go beyond, you know, the first season or two, it was kind of a mixed blessing in a way.
It did feel like a rejection in a way because I had been part of the beginning and I had, in a way, been promised so many things. And I had certain expectations that had been, you know, I was disappointed because the expectations weren't met. But thank God, because I went to college and had a full college experience without having the distractions of Hollywood.
I think what was missing in that first season is there's something about an element of the population that was missing in this elitist all-girls school, and that is the real girl. The girl who may not come from privilege, the girl who has a different take on life, who comes from a different neighborhood. We were missing that. And I think that none of the other girls could service that role, so they had to bring in someone new.
Is this where I'm supposed to check in?
What was so brilliant about Nancy being brought on is that she was such a different character and was such a different personality that it didn't feel like she was replacing someone. That it really was that breath of fresh air.
Nancy had a quality which was that she could really grab the essence of this character, which was that edge. And it was very honest, and it was very urban. And at the same time, something that you didn't see very often is that she also understood the pain and the sorrow of this character. So not only did she make you laugh because she was such a tough girl, but she could break your heart.
I had this crazy idea about how a cotillion would be. All the guys would ask me to dance, and everyone would be whispering, "Who's that classy girl? Where'd she come from?"
I'd be treated like I belong there.
She's a brilliant actress, and I'm really referring to her as a dramatic actress. And yet on The Facts of Life, it was her comedy that was so impeccable.
My Jordashes are your Jordashes.
Oh, thanks. You mean you don't mind me taking them in?
When we filmed the Facts of Life reunion movie, I had to call Nancy the very first day because she wasn't able to be on the show because she was filming another series. And I just had to say, I'm having a great time, we miss you, but Blair is only half the fun without Joe. And it really did feel like, yes, we were separate characters, but Joe and Blair were also one character.
It certainly lends to the success of the show, the fact that by the second season, they were able to focus. They being the audience, I think, also was able to focus on the characters, you know, find their favorite, identify with whomever they identified with. The storylines also, I think, lent themselves to being more sophisticated for that audience and for the cast. So I think all of those elements combined help the show find its audience or keep its audience, gain new audience, and become very successful for the network.
And then it happened. Neil asked me out.
Your first real date!
Congratulations. That's terrific.
How do you feel? Nauseous.
The way teenagers show up was different almost that time ago. You know, it's almost 20 years now. It was a different culture. And we were just at the edge of the women's movement. So you were talking about women actually having a presence in the media, and certainly young women being in the presence of the media. So it was very exciting.
We were so innocent and just so sweet and so curious about everything. And I remember us trying to talk to older females about love and sex and just, you know, everything that life had to offer. And we were just all kind of in that space together, and it was a wonderful place to be.
All I can really remember about it is the incredible acts of kindness these amazing girls gave me.
Being away from home and my friends and my family, I had like another family, another set of friends that was very comforting.
In a professional setting like that, it's amazing that we really did all get along. There wasn't the infighting, there wasn't the jealousy, there wasn't the circling or the counting of the lines. We really did enjoy one another and just have a great time.
The things that I am so proud about from being, you know, one of the Facts girls is I went to a coffee house once and I saw this guy wearing one of those retro t-shirts and it had the logo from the show. And it just kind of made me flutter inside like I'm a part of that.